Today we're here to answer the question, how to move on. How to move on. How to move on from a relationship, how to move on from trauma, how to move on from where you live, unhappiness, disappointment in your work, your studies. How do I move on from this situation, from what ails me, from heartache? Oh, here's one already. Oh, and it's the letter B. This is the letter B for today on a white stone. How to move on from being limited. Oh, 2. It's 2 for the pine. How do I move on from my limiting worldview, my self-sabotage, my negative attitudes, my victim mentality? How do I move on? Oh, and this one for, again 2 cards, interesting. This one for the white feather of Apollon, which is a swan's feather, graciously gifted to me by some lovely swans here in Scotland. So, how do I move on? What kind of guidance can be given to those seeking to move on? And here is the card for the shell. Okay, thank you. Pure white light of divine love flow down through me and into these cards, that those seeking guidance, peace, reassurance may be given the message that they most need to hear. So be it. Today, I'm starting with the B. So how to move on. Oh, here we go, letter B. And we turn the card this way. The Hanged Man reversed. Apologies, I'm not very good at doing this in mirror. The Hanged Man reversed. So it's interesting, isn't it? How to move on. This tells me that you are pretending to be stuck. Because when it's reversed like this, it looks as though he's just standing on a tree. He's not hanging from it, he's standing on it, on a branch. He has that beautiful golden halo. And it's as though he knows the answers. He knows his intuition, his inner knowing, his wisdom, his grace is all there. It's all active, it's functioning, but it's also all in the head. And it speaks to me of a psychological block. It's a psychological block because it's all in the head. You have all the answers, you know what you need to do, but it's almost as though it's too much in the head, in fact. And when I look at the heart position on the chest, it's all blue there, it's as though it's really the fact that the heart has been the heart energy has been blocked. The heart energy is not radiating forth, and really that it's a feeling of being blue. That you're telling yourself in your mind, I'm stuck, even though I'm clever, even though I'm this, even though I should know better, I'm just stuck in this situation. And the truth of the matter is that you're not even hanging upside down on that tree. You're standing on one leg pretending to be hanging. Those red leggings really speak to letting your will, the lower will, the lower nature, the sexual nature, the kind of greedy or also kind of immature elements of yourself take control of the situation, when what you need to do is use some of that golden, clever, intuitive energy in the head to come down into the heart and light up your heart space. In a way, the arms and the legs are pointing to the heart. I don't know if you see, it looks like there's a pointing going on toward that part of the body. So I really recommend how to move on. Stop kidding yourself. You're actually able to stand up on your own feet and do this. You have the intelligence, you have the wisdom, the inner knowing, you have it all, and you've just blocked your heart from accessing it. And you're letting your anger or petty feelings or sexual desires or lower passions to make you unstable. So I hope that's helpful. That's what it says to me. I hope it's helpful for you. Thank you. Now we'll go to the shell. And we're going to turn the card this way. Oh, Queen of Wands. There we go. Queen of Wands. Thank you for being patient with me. I'm not very good at this part of it. But practice makes perfect, I suppose. Queen of Wands, how do you move on? Well, the first thing I see there is there's a little black cat. Small, but it's sitting at the Queen's feet. So how do you move on? You don't deny your part, your shadow part of the story. Acknowledge that there has been a sort of dark, catty, feline, hidden, maybe scratchy aspect of your behavior. It's not very big, but it is there, and you need to acknowledge that and also accept that it's part of you, but it should be sitting at the correct part of you, which is at your feet. It's not ruling you, it's not controlling you, but the first step is to acknowledge that you too have played a little bit of a part in this situation in a negative way. How to move on is to look to the past and look to the good things of the past. She's looking toward in the direction of the flower that she's holding, not the staff. And that says to me that it's important to really be grateful, count your blessings, be grateful for all the good things that you have and that you've experienced. After all, a sunflower, as that is, doesn't just become a sunflower overnight. The seed has to germinate. It has to have the right conditions to start growing. That's what germination is. And then it has to go through many, many stages of difficulty and danger, which at so many points a young growing plant can be munched by something or trodden by something or drowned by the rain or burnt by the sun. And yet there she is in her left hand holding the culmination of growth. And a sunflower has seeds in its face. It has the beginnings of all these new lives and possibilities. So how do you move on? You look to what you hold now, to the good of what you hold now. You look to the possibilities and the potentials, all those seeds that have come to ripening through this difficult and dangerous process you've been through. And the fact that it's in her left hand also says to me that these are possibilities, potentials, treasures that you've gained through the feminine, through the creative, through the loving, through the vulnerable or vulnerability of yourself. These are treasures that are gained not through fighting or strength, so to speak, but through patience and care and loving attendance and guidance. So these are the things that will help you move on. You are, as a queen, you are responsible for yourself. You are capable for yourself, but you also have a greater responsibility for others. That is what it is to be a queen, is to be in charge of, to be a guidance, perhaps, a guiding hand to others, whether they're people or ideas, projects, animals. So how do you move on? You acknowledge the little black cat in you, and that cheeky little pussycat did have a role to play. You acknowledge that you've gained so much through this difficult process of growth. And, of course, finally, you have strength. You have strength. And something had to be cut down. Something, a tree had to be cut down. A branch had to be severed in order for you to hold that strength in your hand. Do that. Do these things and move on, and you will be so much stronger than you ever thought you were. Thank you. Now we'll do a lovely little pine cone here. We have 2 cards. I'm just going to flip them over. So lovely. I'll reveal the other one in a moment, but we have the Fool. Okay, how to move on. Absolutely, very clearly, don't just go running off the nearest cliff edge. Physically, metaphorically, emotionally, don't do it. This is a card that says you might be tempted to move on by just rushing into the next new thing, by pretending to yourself that it's all fine, you're fine, you can get on with it. Life's just a dandy doddle. You've got a little bag on your back. Sorry, I should show you the card. It's upside down. So he has this little sack on his back there. And he's just traipsing along, and there's a little dog at his heels, and here is the cliff edge. In this reading, I say that means that you must look before you leap. Do not rush into any kind of casual partnerships or engagements or entanglements. Do not just look up at the sky and say, I don't care, it doesn't hurt me, it doesn't bother me. This is going to lead to disaster for you. He has a little white rose in his hand, and the white rose traditionally is used as a symbol, one of the symbols of Venus, but especially a symbol of secrecy, of integrity, of knowing secrets and having the integrity not to spread them. So he carries this white rose in his left hand. He has this white dog, and dogs, of course, are symbols of loyalty. So we have the integrity of keeping silent, of not talking about those things that shouldn't be spoken about, not spreading gossip, rumors, or even intimate details that you've shared with someone who perhaps isn't your friend or lover anymore. And the dog absolutely speaks about loyalty. The dog, this loyalty is trying to stop, the fool from falling over the edge. So be your best self here. Don't rush into some crazy Tinder romance. Don't rush into packing up your house and rushing off. How do you move on? You move on by, let's see what the universe has to show us. You move on by, the Page of Swords reversed. Interesting. Okay. I see this card as a card of learning, of intellect. The swords, it can be many things, but one of the things for sure with the clouds there is about intellect and learning. And one of the ways you can move on is through learning about yourself, learning about the way your thoughts work, the way your mind works, but especially about what you think the world is. Because he's upside down, it tells me that his ideas are the wrong way round. What he thinks the world is isn't right. It doesn't fit him properly. Because if we turn the page around, now you see a strong young man standing on the earth with his head above the clouds, with these birds above his head, the sword raised, ready for action. This is great. Like this, we see a young man who basically has an upside down view of the world, that his thoughts are upside down. So my answer to how do you move on, well, the cosmos's answer to how you move on is you really need to look at your thoughts about yourself and about the world. And what you think is the sky is actually the earth. You know, what you think is the freedom of intellect and mind and understanding is actually the foundation of things. It's not the very top. It's not the highest idea or reality of the situation. And so I think that fits very, very well with the Fool. I mean, if you see here, both of these are young men with the ground very clearly underneath their feet, with something straight, long, being held in their hands. And yet, I suppose the key difference here is this one's looking at the sky. So he's definitely going to fall over the edge of that cliff. This one's looking at the ground, but he should be looking up into his intellect and understanding to really see whether it's true or not what he believes, rather than just assuming that. Okay, thank you very much. And now, the swan feather. Okay, so I've been told to turn this one that way, and I'll turn the other one over in a moment. Okay, how to move on. Gosh, the Seven of Wands. I'll show you close up. The Seven of Wands. Yeah, you think it's funny too that I have no clue how to hold this. I really have some terrible spatial understanding here, but there we go. Seven of Wands, and it's upside down as well. Reversed, as they say. Okay, how to move on. Goodness, well, you're stuck. That's absolutely what I see here. You're stuck. You've got too many things that are holding you stuck. The look on this young man's face is really like stressed and hardworking. You're stuck, and you can't move on until you decide what you should take with you. Because the impression I get is you can't take all this stuff with you. It's holding you back. The idea that you need to sort all these things out first before you can go, before you can move, before you can change yourself is absolutely false. It's the thing that's keeping you stuck, is that idea that you know, you have to fix every little thing first before you can go to the gym and lose weight, before you can go to therapy, before you can leave your partner. You know, that you have to do all these things first is the very problem. That is it's a mistake in thinking. The fact that it's reversed also says that in a way the situation's easier than you think. Up here are all the rods. Down here, it's just him. This rod creates a kind of triangle. I'm sure you can see it very clearly there. This corner here is blue, this corner isn't. And that says to me that the problems, the stuckness, is stopping you from thinking properly, because this is on the bottom half. And yet the solution, the way forward, how to move on, is really clear. Look at that clear blue sky there. But this is pressing down on you and stopping you from making that decision. So it also implies that perhaps there are external factors that are pushing down on you. It's not just you, it's something external. Let's see what the next card says, and I'll be turning it this way. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay, here we are. If you can see that. That is the 8 of Swords. And gosh, I mean, is there any interpretation required? Here is a woman blindfolded, bound, in a marshy, kind of deserty sort of setting, with all these swords placed around her, almost like a cage. And it absolutely speaks to this. Absolute. To me, they are like mirrors of each other. again, her head is in the clear, just like his head is in the clear. Whereas in this situation, these wands are pushing down. I would say now that we see this, the wands are going to be about relationships, especially to do with family and people close to you, relationships that grow with you. And these relationships are causing this pressure, this downward kind of difficulty in moving on. Here, however, it's your thoughts. You are essentially blindfolded and bound by your own overwhelming thoughts, negative thoughts. I don't know if you can see, but there's a castle. Let's see there. Oh, dearie me, I apologize. As I say, I'm planning to get a lot better at this, but there's a castle there in the background. So this person is either outcast from the village, or she thinks she is, which is how I'm going to interpret it here, that she thinks that there's something about her that is unworthy. She's in this scarlet, it's almost like a scarlet woman, right? She's unworthy, she's blindfolded, she's bound, her feet are in the wet and the dry. It really is a card that says, whilst, yes, there are pressures from family and other relationships you have, it may even be work, that are keeping you stuck, ultimately it's just you. Because after all, she could rub against a sword and cut all that stuff off, right? But instead it's presented as a type of cage. And they don't even look very tight, the things that are binding her. So really, how to move on is perhaps acknowledge that these things are keeping you stuck. These things are keeping you stuck. And what your head is telling you is absolutely clear. It's absolutely clear. However, your intellectualization, your thoughts, your rationalizing of these relationships and the right that they have to keep you stuck is all you. It's all you. So how do you move on? I would recommend you start with this. Just remind yourself that it's you that has the negative thoughts. It's you that feels caged by the situation. And that whilst, yes, these pressures are pushing down, you're holding your responsibility already. You don't need to take the rest on. I mean, how many sticks can you hold effectively? So I hope this was helpful. I wish you good luck, all of you, in moving on and doing so with grace and kindness and understanding. Thank you very much.